This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Hi friends, welcome back to the Avocado Toast Budget. If you are new here, my name is Lexa, and for today's video, we are going to go over all of the things that I wish I knew when I first started budgeting and paying off debt. Now, before we get into it, if you want to learn more about saving, paying off debt, investing, and how to finally feel more confident with your money, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Also, push that bell notification, that way you get notified every single time that I upload. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, helps boost this video to the top, that way more people can find this content. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I wish that I knew when I first started budgeting was that my priorities did not have to be in line with everyone else's. In the personal finance community, there tends to be this big push toward being debt-free. So naturally, I just kind of adopted that because that's what everyone else was doing. And to be perfectly honest with you, I really thought that was the main goal. Like that was the only way, was to work toward being debt-free. And it took me a really long time to take a step back, look at my goals, look at where I wanted to be financially, and decide for myself what was most important to me. And now, being debt-free is not on the top of my priority list. The only debt that I have left are my student loans. I did pay off all of my credit card debt, and because my student loans are pretty low interest, I've actually decided to prioritize investing and saving up my money for different goals rather than paying off that debt. And when I first started to make this change, I was really nervous about it. But ultimately, I realized that personal finance is personal and you need to do whatever is best for you. The second thing that I wish I knew was that you do not have to close your credit cards. Let me repeat that one more time. You do not have to close your credit cards. Now, if you are someone who thinks that if your credit cards are open, you're just going to continuously spend more and more on them, then that's a different matter. But for the majority of people, I really think that you can have a healthy relationship with credit cards. And even if you don't plan on ever using your credit cards again, if you've written them off, you don't have to close them. Because what happens if you close your credit accounts completely is that it can really dramatically drop your credit score. And even if you never plan on being in debt again, credit score can have a big impact on your financial life in so many other ways. If you want to learn more about credit scores, what affects them, and how to build them up, I will link my video up here for you guys. Now, thankfully, I never actually closed any of my credit cards, but I'm so thankful because there were a couple times that I thought about it. I thought that in order to make this dedication to being credit card debt free and getting on the right path, that I needed to close my credit cards and never look back. But now I've established a healthy relationship with credit cards. I know how to spend on them in a way that I don't overspend and in a way that I can actually take advantage of the perks that they offer. And thankfully, my credit score remained intact. The third thing that I wish that I knew was that not everything in personal finance needs to be about how to maximize the potential of your dollar. Is getting a nice latte every once in a while from Starbucks going to make me any more money? No. But does it add quality and value to my life when sometimes I just so want for someone else to make me a yummy drink and for me to be able to enjoy it and sit down and either get some work done or just relax? Yes. I hate this mentality in personal finance that you need to look at the $5 latte as what could that $5 be for you 15 years down the road in retirement. Because it's a slippery slope. You could literally nickel and dime your way to never spending any money on anything ever. So not everything needs to be about maximizing the potential financial aspects of every single dollar that you have. Instead, I wish that I would have started off by looking at what can my money do for me in terms of my financial goals, but also my personal goals, life experiences, and the overall quality of my life. Doing this also takes a ton of the judgment out of budgeting and spending money, and I think that is so important for a sustainable budgeting lifestyle. The fourth thing that I wish that I would have realized when I first started was that when you first start budgeting, it is probably going to be a hot mess. I thought that I was going to sit down and know exactly what I was doing. I had done my research and I was going to be fantastic at budgeting. I was never going to overspend and I was just going to, money would flock and flow through me. Shockingly, that's not at all what happened. To be perfectly honest with you, I pretty much sucked at budgeting at first. I overspent in categories all of the time. I didn't make realistic budgets. There were times that I just did not feel like checking my budget at all or updating it. And to be perfectly honest with you, it was finally when I made that mind shift change. Mind shift? Is that a mind shift? Okay, is that a word? Mindset change? Shifted your mindset? Is that it? Shifted your mindset? Okay, when I finally shifted my mindset, I think that's how you say it, and instead decided to look at budgeting as a whole and something that is gonna be messy at first, I'm gonna mess up with, I'm gonna overspend, and instead I just kind of embraced that and understood it. That was actually when I started to get better at budgeting. Giving yourself wiggle room in your budget, especially when you are getting started, is so important. I've been doing this for a while now, and I still overspend in categories every once in a while, but I have learned to just adjust, cover my overspending, and move on, and it makes budgeting so much easier and so much more realistic. The fifth thing that I wish that I would have known was to not just jump in head first with creating a budget and starting a budget. Now, I know this might kind of sound weird, like, Lexa, your whole entire channel is literally budgeting and paying off debt. What do you mean I'm not supposed to start a budget? But hear me out. I think that it is so important that you establish what your financial and personal goals are, and you have an understanding of what your financial situation is like before you jump into creating a budget. Because let's be honest here, if you just jump into creating a budget, chances are you're going to make a budget based off of what you would ideally like to spend, not what your life is actually like and what your spending is actually like right now. So I really recommend that you at least know the basics of how much debt you have, your relative amount of income, and what your expenses kind of look like on a month-to-month basis. Now, if you have literally no idea how much you spend in certain categories, don't worry. I did not either. So I actually decided to just go through, I printed off all of my bank statements and my credit card statements, got out some highlighters and highlighted all of my categories to figure out where I was spending most of my money. And I know that this can seem scary because looking at our past financial situation can be really overwhelming, and we often get these feelings of shame and guilt. And I totally understand that because I have been there. But if you want to feel a little bit better, just know that the first time that I ever looked back on my monthly spending, I had found out that I had spent $900 that month on DoorDash. Yeah, I didn't have $900 to be spending on DoorDash. So really there's no judgment here. But what doing this allowed me to do was create a budget that was actually more realistic for the life that I was living. And honestly, this leads me to point number 6, the 6th thing that I wish that I would have known about budgeting and paying off debt, and that is how important it is to make incremental changes to your budget. If you are someone who spends $1,000 a month on groceries, going in and deciding your first month of budgeting that you're gonna spend $500 a month is not gonna work out for you most likely. Chances are you are probably going to end up overspending, and then it's going to lead to, again, those feelings of guilt and shame and feeling like you suck at budgeting and you just can't do this, so why even try? I promise you, in the long run, if you instead look at that as, hey, my goal is that I would like to get to spending $500 a month on groceries, so I'm gonna cut back by $25 or $50 every single month and slowly work my way there and see how that goes, you are going to end up saving so much more money because you will actually stick to your budget. Chances are budgeting to some capacity is going to be something that you want to do for the rest of your life to help maintain your financial situation and make sure that you're reaching your goals. So because of that, you want it to be realistic and you don't want to feel like you're constantly having to sprint toward this better version of yourself. I promise you, you are okay where you are at, and it is okay to make small changes in the right direction. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And the final thing that I wish that I would have known when I first started budgeting was to start simple. It can be really easy to see the budgets of these seasoned budgeters and personal finance gurus, and I understand that that's probably myself included, that have all of these different categories and have things down to the penny and know exactly how much they're gonna spend, and they have like 15 different savings categories, and it can feel like a lot. And you don't need to do that at first. Because the reality of it is, for most people, you're just not going to be able to fund everything that you want to fund. And trying to break up your money into 15 different savings goals is just going to feel like you're constantly treading water and not actually getting anywhere. So instead, I really recommend that you focus on your number one goal. So usually that is something like saving for an emergency fund, paying off debt, investing, or saving for something else like a new car or a down payment on a house or a vacation. And once you decide on that, that's where the majority of your money is going to go. And if you've been here before, you know that I love sinking funds, which are basically just certain types of savings goals like car maintenance or medical bills or a new phone. These things that you know you're probably going to have to pay for at some point, but you don't exactly know when that's going to happen. And don't get me wrong, I still think that these are important. But I think it's more important for you to choose like 1, 2, maybe 3 different things to save for at a time, rather than trying to go in and decide that you want to start saving for all of these different things. This allows you to really put a good chunk of your money toward these things, rather than divvying it up in a bunch of different categories and feeling like you're never going to reach those goals. Trust me, as you get into the habit of it, you can always refine things later and move things around. But for now, keep it simple. And that is it. Those are the top 7 things that I wish I knew when I first started paying off debt and budgeting. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and push that notification bell. That way you get notified every single time that I upload. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up. It'll let me know that you like this kind of content. It will also help boost this video to the top of the YouTube algorithm, and it'll help more people to find this channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.